Welcome to The Rookie Hunter. My name is Mike Peterson, and this is episode 5. If you're returning to the show, thank you so much for the support. We really do appreciate it. If you're new, each week Kelly and I share our experiences as new hunters, encourage prospective hunters, educate non-hunters, and discuss the sport with some experienced guys as well. This week, we'd like to send out a special thank you to all the folks from the Alberta Outdoorsman Forum. Last week, we posted a thread asking for advice for new hunters, and man, do we ever get a lot of great feedback. We'll be sharing some of our favorites from that thread, and also chatting a bit about hitting the range last week. I'm on the tail end of a cold, so I do apologize for that, but anyways, please enjoy this episode of The Rookie Hunter.
What's the date today? So it's March 31st today, Cal. That means tomorrow is what?
Tomorrow's the bear hunt.
Yeah.
Technically, we could go out, but I think we might wait for a little while, let them wake up a little more. We've had an early spring this year.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I like to get out when we can, just nearby, get the gear out. But I guess if we want to put some serious time in, we'll probably wait till May or so.
Yeah, I think so. And we touched on it last episode, but I guess you and I we don't really know what we're dealing with, but our theory behind it is to wait until there's, until their diet changes to things like clover and berries, which is going to, affect the taste of the meat. They're just rolling out of their dens, and I think they're likely feeding on winter kill, so kind of gross.
They're probably pretty skinny too.
Yeah, so I think even though we could go out tomorrow technically, we'll probably wait another month and a half or so and see what happens. So we went out last weekend, which was nice to finally get out with the rifles and get them all sighted in. There's 3 of us. 1 out of 3 rifles were in good working condition. Mine, which is Old Faithful, which was my dad's rifle. No problems with that one. I guess that's some of the perks of an old piece of equipment is it's been around and it's functional. But Landon, his scope is completely fucked, apparently.
Yeah,
based on his shooting, and it wasn't his fault. We eliminated error on his part. But even at 100 yards, he was nowhere near the center, and the shots were completely opposite to each other. So
he said the gun had took a bit of a fall over the last little while here, so maybe that had something to do with it.
That's the issue with having youngsters in the house. I think got knocked off of a table or something like that. So that's probably the worst thing that could happen to optics.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But he shot a couple shots through mine, and he was right on. No problem. It's definitely not him. I
have a feeling he might have taken that scope off, thrown it down the stairs, and then put it back on just as an excuse to tell his wife that he needed a new scope.
His birthday's coming up, right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then your rifle.
My rifle, I don't know, the firing pin wasn't hitting the primer hard enough, and I had a couple misfires for some reason, which is never had that problem in the year and a half that I've had the rifle. So Landon has the same rifle, so we use the bolt in my gun, which I found out afterwards is probably something you shouldn't do, but anyways, it worked. I was firing shots through there. At 200 yards, it was still within 2 inches. Like there was a group of 3 shots within a 2-inch group. So super happy with how it was shooting. It's just the fact that I had to bring my bolt in and get it looked at. They think there was some gunk in it or something, but I don't know. I'm going to look into it a little further. If we're going to go hunt for bear, I don't want to be thinking in the back of my head that my rifle is just going to go click.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, other than that, it's just surprising because it's been perfect up to that one shot. So, or 2 shots, I should say.
One of the the things I found interesting was I was using that old box of ammo to start off with, just because I wasn't going to use that for hunting anyways. I think it was Winchester 165s that I had there, and you could tell that those were pretty old. Like that was from some of my dad's old gear and that. So I was firing those off, and I wasn't too happy with my groupings. But as soon as I switched over to what I'm actually going to be using, the groupings were right on. So it's funny how just switching ammo can make a pretty huge difference.
And I've heard that, like, because Landon and I have the same model of gun basically.
Yeah.
But even within that, his gun might like this ammo and my gun might like this ammo. Yeah. So it's crazy kind of how a gun will like a certain thing.
It is interesting.
Yeah. I guess regarding the bolt issue, what I'm told is that even if the gun is the same, the bolt is the same. It's the same model, same year. Technically, the headspace could be a little different.
Yeah, so
within the bolt and the action. So you, I guess that you'll see a serial number. The last 3 numbers on the bolt match the serial number of the gun.
Oh, okay.
So
yeah,
something to think about for sure if you're ever in that situation.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the things, I'm going to put you on the spot with this one, that I noticed, we went to this spot not too far from your place to sight in our rifles. And one of the things that you and I have talked about on this podcast is like hunter reputations, right? So there's lots of guys who are doing a good job of improving the overall reputation of hunters, and guys like us who are very respectful when we're out there and clean up after ourselves. But when we got up to that spot, which is a common area for guys to go and shoot, the amount of shells and pigeons and like clay pigeons and garbage all over the place, man, was pretty disgusting. Like it's a substantial amount of garbage up there.
Yeah, and it's kind of like narrowed down to somewhat of a small area, but at the end of the day, like why not clean that stuff up?
So that's what I'm getting at, is I think we should make an effort, and I figured I'd say this on air so that we actually do it, but to head back up there and clean up all that shit.
Yeah.
It's frustrating, man, because when you're hunting, you're taking something from nature, so you should be respecting those areas that are giving you the things that are providing food for you. So when I see that shit, I kind of lose faith in people. But like we said before, it's probably just a small group of guys.
Yeah. I mean, it could be a group of guys with 4 shotguns, and you can go through like boxes and boxes of shells
in no time. Yeah. So
just bring a rake up there, and like as long as we shoot a couple bullets while we're up there.
Yeah, well, yeah. So that's going to be the main reason for going up there.
Yeah.
But I figure we might as well bring a few garbage bags, and I think it's going to be surprising how much garbage we pull out of that area.
Yeah.
So, anyways, I think we should do that
for sure.
And it'll be disappointing when we go back. I'm sure people are going to make a mess again anyways, but
yeah,
we'll take photos of what we were pulled out of there and sort of use that as a message to guys to fuck around, man. That's disrespectful. And it's disrespectful to you and I and everybody else who goes out there and doesn't do that. Like, we didn't leave any garbage behind, you know what I mean? Like, we could have easily just left all of our shells and shit there, but
yeah. We should bring a grader up there too and redo that road.
Yeah, we should.
It drives me nuts. I can't stand the washboard roads.
All the way up there in the truck is
not much you can do about that.
But anyways, I guess that the reason for going in and sighting in rifles is to make sure everything's working properly, and things weren't necessarily, but now we know that, and we'll go back up there again with yours and make sure it's firing okay.
Yeah, and I find the action of shooting a rifle, you think it's kind of easy, right? It's just point it and shoot it. But even with a bow, it's like you have this step process of 10 things. Like, you make sure your stance is right. You make sure that you're kind of angled correctly and that you're looking through the peephole, and the bow's level, and you're pulling it back and the string is touching its point right on the side of your lip, and the perfect point on your nose, and it's there every single time. so it's consistent. But I think with the rifle, it should be the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And even when we were up there, I learned something every time I go shoot the rifle. And what I noticed was that I was letting the rifle cant. Like it was, if the vertical crosshair isn't perfectly vertical, then you're not going to have consistent groups.
Right.
Like if it's leaning one way or the other.
Yeah.
So even just that could cause you to miss your shot.
Yeah.
So, but it's, especially in the heat of the moment, you're probably going to forget some of that stuff unless you're constantly practicing it and running through that list in your head.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
That's sort of a goal for this year, I think, is to go out more often because, yeah, you take quite a bit of time off. You know, the hunting season ends and then you put the rifle away. And, you know, if you want to be good at your craft, you have to be doing these things all the time.
Yep.
It becomes muscle memory. And then when it does come time to take a shot at something, then you're ready to go and you're not thinking about that shit. You're just good to go.
Yeah. Confident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So that'll probably be next weekend. We'll head back up there, check some shit out and clean up the place. And you'll probably go up there this weekend anyways, though, and check yours out.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it's firing okay.
The BC Sportsman shows next weekend too.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that. Never been to one, so it'll be fun to meet some people and see some gear that we shouldn't buy and hopefully win something.
Yeah. When you first mentioned it, I was sort of hesitant to it. I always try and avoid those things, but the more I looked into it, I thought, this will be interesting and I might be pleasantly surprised. And I think it might be some good people watching and I didn't, when I initially looked, I didn't see the people who were speaking there. So there's actually some interesting stuff that I'm looking forward to hear you guys talk about.
For sure.
So that's cool. We'll be able to follow up on that in the next podcast too. What's on tap today, Cal?
Tree Brewery Hophead IPA.
It's fantastic.
It is. It's local.
It is, yeah. That's Kelowna.
From Kelowna, BC.
Yeah. Which I didn't really introduce this. My name's Mike, and obviously I'm joined by Kelly, but we're recording this out of the Okanagan Valley. We're in Kelowna. So that's sort of the areas that we're talking about. If this is somebody's first time, should make the point that Kelly and I are new to hunting, and that's why it's the Rookie Hunter podcast. And one of the cool things that we've both discovered is that the hunting community is like amazing, really. Kelly first, started posting on the BC Hunting Forum. Is that this? I always forget what that one's called.
Hunting BC.
Hunting BC, yeah. Regarding the bear hunt and I don't know. You ended up with 4 pages of really useful information. We should actually put up links to this stuff on our Twitter page, just so if other people are interested in seeing what we're talking about, they can go on there and look. And then, so based on that, I thought it'd be cool to join some other forums across Canada. Maybe we'll check out some in the States too. It's just kind of neat to chat with people and find out what they're doing and look at other questions people have, and you might come across stuff you never even thought of. And people are really quick to give advice, which is cool. And no one is making fun of us for asking questions on there or anything like that. It's really supportive. So I think that's pretty rad. I didn't know the hunting community was like that previous. I figured that, guys were very secretive and they didn't want to share shit. And it turns out to be the very opposite.
Yeah. Well, they can be, but that's only if you ask for, hey, where are the elk?
Yeah.
Then it's like, you guys are going to have to go check it out for yourselves.
Yeah. So this episode, I think, is going to be sort of tips and advice. Not so much from me and Kelly. There's going to be overlap from some of the stuff we've talked about in previous episodes, because even though we're pretty new to hunting, I think that you and I have lots of things to offer. We're not experts, but it's pretty amazing what you learn over a short period of time. And we have access to so much information through there's really good books. We've mentioned Renella's books, and obviously these forums and YouTube videos and all that kind of shit. So you and I both spend a lot of time reading and watching videos and all that. So what I'm getting at here is one of the forums I signed us up on was the Alberta Outdoorsman Forum. And I just put up a post kind of letting people know what we're doing, and asked them if they can narrow it down to one piece of advice for new hunters. What would it be? Guys obviously had a tough time just giving us one that was meant to be part of the challenge. But anyways, I've got this printed off, and I don't know how many pages of stuff I've got here, but we got a ton of feedback, which was all really great. Again, we'll post a link to this on our Twitter page so you can have a look at all of them. But so I forwarded it to Kelly, and Kelly, like a businessman, got his highlighter out and chose all of his favorite ones, or some of them anyways. So Cal, let's start with the first one and go from there.
All right. Well, the first one that I highlighted was it's by Elk. I think it's Elk Killer.
Yeah.
But it's LKILR.
Oh, nice.
So I think it's a play on letters there. But he says, patience is key. Slow and steady always wins the race, which that was basically a top point on most people's posts in this podcast, or in this thread.
Yeah, for sure. And it totally is key. And we talked about that, you and I, in previous conversations, and we also talked about that with Corey on the last one. And yeah, when you're a new hunter and the opportunity finally comes to shoot at an animal, your adrenaline's pumping and everything like that. And that was part of our first experience. Was we probably should have been more patient, and don't be afraid to pass up an opportunity as well. I think if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. But I think that's a great point, and that's one of the reasons why I came up so many times on this.
Yeah. And he says he used to chase game all over the hills until age slowed him down. I probably walked by many trophies over the years. Now I spend more time sitting and waiting patiently.
I was hoping you wouldn't read that one.
Yeah.
Because you know how I am.
I know. I think what I take from it is knowing when to hike, and knowing when to slow down.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily doing one the whole time, but kind of knowing when to slow down is key.
No, I'm just kidding. I'm not totally against sitting down, but it's again, I think if you know your areas well, and you know they're there, and you're waiting patiently, eventually it's going to come out.
Yep.
I think once we learn to call a little bit better and that too, it'll probably make a difference. But
okay, what do we got next? Bang on SK. He says, spend as much or more time watching as you do moving. Mike loves these posts.
Why did I let you choose them all?
Yeah. So the interesting thing about his post, though, is that he went on to talk about Fred Bear's 10 Commandments of hunting.
Yeah, that's great.
So if nobody's familiar with them, I think I should just run through them. Don't step on anything you can step over. I'm assuming that has to do with gun safety, but maybe somebody can clarify that for us.
I don't know if I was wondering if that's like avoiding
sounds.
Yeah, I guess you could look at that either way, and both would be good.
Yeah, both are. That's a good reason either way. Don't look for deer, look for movement, and remember that's what they're looking for too. Always approach from downwind. The best camouflage is sit down and be quiet. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been reading quite a bit about camouflage lately, and even there's an episode of Solo Hunter. I think it's like 5.6 or 5.5 or something.
Yeah.
It's a 2.2-part series where he doesn't even have his camo on because it was, I don't know, somewhere else, whatever the story. But he said it made him a better hunter to not wear camo and just really pay attention to his movements, and the elk walked in within 30 yards anyways.
Wow.
So I guess his point was camo is obviously a good tool, and the technology's come a long way, but at the end of the day, you don't really need it.
Yeah.
So
I'm not really into camo for whatever reason. I see the benefits of it, but I don't know. For some reason, I just don't want camo, and I've got some. I don't have anything against it, but I don't know. It just seems like it's for one purpose only in that situation when you could have something. I don't know. Remember where I read it, but it was another like debate about camo, and I wish I could credit whoever said it, but they said like, set yourself up where you're going to be hunting and take a photo of yourself and put it in black and white, and if you blend in really well to your surroundings, then you're probably
good. Yeah.
So, anyways.
All right. Number 5, take only the gear that lets you hunt longer, smarter, and harder. Number 6, rain isn't a reason to quit the hunt. It's a reason to stay. We had that experience last year a couple times. It's tough to stay out there when the weather gets bad, but I've read that in multiple forums and podcasts where they're saying wait until the storm happens and go out right after, before and after a storm, or even if it's pouring rain, like just stay out there.
Yeah.
Because the deer get cold too.
Right.
And they get hungry and they're going to hunker down or whatever. Camouflage your appearance, your sound, and your scent. I think, like we were just talking about, some people take that a lot further than others. I'm sure more helps though, to some extent.
Yeah.
Be sure of your shot. Nothing is more expensive than regret. Also familiar with that.
Yeah.
Hunt where the deer are, not where you'd imagine them to be.
That's a great point too. And we talked about that last time. It's like, you know, we often set up somewhere thinking, you know, this basin is going to be where they're coming through, or they're going to be coming along the creek, and it's more likely they're going to be coming up behind you.
Yeah, you turn around and staring right at you.
Yeah.
Yep. Next year's hunt starts the minute the season ends. So I think that's related to scouting.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be maybe an advantage for us this year, especially from doing this podcast. Now that we're talking about it so much, it's very much in the front of my mind. And because we're going to be doing the bear hunt, we're going to be doing a lot of scouting early on in the season, which I think is going to make a huge difference for September when we're able to go after deer and elk or moose or whatever we end up being able to go after. So, yeah.
I like Trout. In his post, he kind of had a list of his top 5, but he also touched on where the deer are, not where you imagine them to be. And he noted that you should always set up on sign.
He's got patience as number 1 as well. So
yeah, he's patience for sure. But he kind of summed up some interesting points on number 5 there. Pay attention to the basics like wind, scent control, noise, movement. Put yourself in the right locations like bedding areas, feeding areas, travel routes. Listen to your instincts and be patient.
Yeah.
So that's kind of just a back to basics.
Yeah, self-doubt, in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges facing new hunters, which is a good point. We've been there. Corey mentioned being there, and it's like, yeah, I don't know. I found by this second season that started to go away, and that's why I think it's probably a good thing that maybe we didn't get anything in the first time around. What else you got?
TFNG, he says, or she, when glassing, look into or through bush, not just the edges. Binoculars help focus through brush surprisingly well. So I don't know if he's meaning the brush that's kind of way down range, but I was thinking more, you could almost use the brush as cover and look through it. True, because like photography, you can change the focal plane of what you're seeing and it almost blurs out. Like you can photograph through a fence as long as your lens is right up close, you can change the focal plane and it'll blur it right out. So that's kind of a cool point. I just highlighted it.
Yeah, that one actually made me think. I think you were with me, and it was up in our usual spot up behind your place, our easy access spot. We were coming down after a day of hunting. heading back towards the truck and heading down to the left of the service road. There's like an open field there, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was you and I. Anyways, there was 2 does and a couple of fawns or something like that we sat down and just decided to watch. And I found it interesting because there were shrubs down there, and from a distance the shrubs looked pretty small, but these deer were walking in behind them and completely disappearing. So there was moments where it looked like there was no deer at all because they were hiding behind these things.
Mm-hmm.
Again, small brush, but then they would just come poking out through the other side, and like, wow, there's 4 or 5 deer down there.
Mm-hmm.
You could easily walk by and think there was nothing there.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that point, you could look at it either way, like you're saying, or what I was thinking. So that's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
What else you got?
Same guy. Don't be walking around in heavy cover with your scope cranked up. So basically, if you're gonna get a shot with that needs magnification, you're probably gonna have time to crank it up. Whereas if you're in heavy cover, it's also a safety thing, I think, with bear. If something sneaks up on you and you're close, you probably don't want to have your scope
true.
at 10 times.
Yeah.
So I try to think about that when I'm out there. I sometimes forget and always have it at 10, but
You know what? Yeah, I've never even thought about that, and I've always had mine cranked up all the way. But I guess the advantage we have here in the Okanagan is we're often hunting in burned out areas.
yeah, it's pretty open.
So it's pretty wide open. But as you and I get into bear hunting, that's a good point.
Yeah.
It might change because we'll be getting into some denser wooded areas. So
Mhm.
yeah, I never thought about that one. So that's good.
Yep. Pass through says right before and after a significant active weather event is when you want to be out there. So I think we kind of touched on that.
Yeah, you know what? And I'm surprised that we shared our story about being in the park and that huge storm rolling through.
Mm-hmm.
It was fucking intense.
I was actually assuming, I think we talked about that out there. Like, oh, we had this big storm. We're going to go back out there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And there's going to be animals everywhere that were hunkered down all night.
We didn't see anything.
No.
Although the day of the storm, when we were coming back, that was actually the only deer we saw. There was a muley doe and 2 fawns while it was pissing rain. So yeah, those were the only deer we saw, and that was during the brutal rain.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it sucks being out there in the fucking pouring rain, but
Yeah.
oh well.
Gives you respect for the animals for sure.
Yeah.
/8 says be ethical and responsible, and if you make a mistake, own up to it. We kind of touched on that in the core course, or our instructor did anyways.
Yeah.
Like mistakes can happen, and if they do, then call the CO and tell them what happened.
Yeah.
And you don't want to try to hide something. It can make matters worse.
Totally, man.
Worse.
I don't think they're gonna be too hard on a new hunter, especially if you come in honest and let them know what happened, because shit happens, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way around it. But yeah.
Yeah. The Moose says you can learn a great deal about hunting specific properties or terrain by going into the terrain in all seasons. When are the animals there? Why are they there? And why do they leave? It's back to scouting.
Yeah.
He talks about using Google Earth to pinch points and travel corridors and all that kind of stuff, which is a good point.
Mm-hmm. And you've been on top of Google Maps.
Yeah, I don't know if it's for any benefit, but I don't know. I think really it does help, but as much time as it takes to hunt in season, I think there has to be a lot of time put in beforehand during the summer. Maybe not in the spring as much, I'm not sure, but maybe mid to late summer, especially in the Okanagan, because the temperature doesn't change like huge, right? I'm thinking it where the deer are in July, August, they're probably not going to go too much further in September, October.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So if we could get out there, do a couple scouting trips, that'd probably be good.
Yeah.
And the other aspect of that is practicing backcountry camping.
Which we were just talking about before we started recording, is doing a pretty lengthy hike, backpacking trip, but just be a one night kind of thing to go from one end of the lake to the other. That'll be good. It's a good time to try out your gear and do it when the weather's actually nice. And I don't know, there's lots of area we haven't really checked out in there too, so who knows what we're going to find.
Yep. I can't pronounce this guy's username, but he says find a mentor. Your learning curve will be a lot shorter. That's definitely true. We haven't had too much around here, but we'll work on that. Those were the key points that I pulled out of that Alberta forum.
Cool.
So thanks to everybody that has replied.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we might do this a little bit more often too, is just put stuff out. It's funny, like, you know, some stuff you get a whole ton of feedback, and then sometimes not as much. But try to make it clear to guys too that we're not advertising the podcast. We're just, you know, very much like the forums are a resource. This podcast is meant to be a resource as well. So we just want to hear from people who are out there that have been doing it for a while, just so that we can use this as another platform to reach more people. And we've only been live for 3 weeks or something now on iTunes, and it's kind of cool. We're starting to get feedback, and downloads are starting to jump up quite a bit. So and we've got, you know, downloads coming all over, straight across Canada and throughout the US, and even some random countries as well.
Isn't there a couple? Ireland?
Yeah, Ireland was one of them. And
Finland.
Yeah. So wherever you guys are listening from, appreciate it for sure. And while we're on the topic of this, that if you are getting something from this, and you think other people will too, then you know, you can share it through your social media. And probably one of the things that helps us the most is to actually leave a rating or a review. I hate asking for that, but I don't think people realize that it has a pretty big impact on how we do in iTunes and how visible we are. So we've got a few up there already, which is nice. So thanks to whoever's been putting stuff there. We're also on Twitter and Instagram. If you search for The Rookie Hunter, you'll find us. I put up a post on Instagram, and it was just like an ask us anything type of thing, and our following isn't huge just yet, but we did get a guy, Grundlegram. He said, any advice for someone looking for a mentor to show me the ropes of hunting in BC? Cal, what do you think about that one? I was sort of thinking these might be obvious to him. I don't know if this is what he's looking for, but just joining your local fish and game clubs, and I don't know if he's part of any of these forums and stuff like that, but I actually see a lot of guys posting, like, looking for hunting partners and stuff like that. And you know, it might be hard to find a guy that's willing to go out with you, but I think if you ask around enough, and even going to the range and just chatting with guys and letting them know that you're new to hunting. This guy's in the Lower Mainland, but, you know, I would definitely take somebody out if they asked me to. I'd be more than happy to do it. So, as we said already, that the hunting community is really, really amazing. So, just don't be shy and go out there and meet guys. But
yeah, for sure, I would just say the same thing. I was thinking game club and forums and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not in our area, I guess. So.
Yeah, and I think, you know, if you start hunting with guys, somebody's always going to know somebody. So, you know, for me, my mentor would have been my old man, but he's not around anymore. And your dad doesn't hunt, but your father-in-law does. So we're going to use him as a resource. So yeah, there's always people out there that are willing to step in as a mentor. So just, it's a matter of going out and finding them.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard a quote recently that says the world is run by those who show up. And it's I'm not saying that we're trying to run the world or anyone is, but it's just interesting that, you can't be shy. You got to get out there and go to your game club and probably be pleasantly surprised at how willing people are to talk to you and do all that kind of stuff. So, it's something that I think about too. So just a matter of getting out there, really.
Yeah. Those are things that I generally avoid too. But yeah, I don't know. I always find that when I push myself to do these things that I don't want to, I'm always pleasantly surprised by the connections you make or something that you pick up from somebody. So
for sure.
Yeah. I don't know if that's helpful to them, but that's kind of, I don't know. I can't think of anything else really, but there you go.
I've actually seen, like, speaking of Hunting BC, the forum, I've seen people post on there, hey, I'm looking for a mentor, and they get responses. People write back, hey, I'm going out, send me a private message. That's pretty much all you got to do. Yeah. Somebody will respond.
For sure.
And then just be open to hanging out with some new people, really.
You might want to do a background check.
Yeah.
But I think that's the good thing about the hunting clubs and shit like that. At least you can meet these guys, or maybe that's a good place to start, is to say, hey, I'm going here to shoot off a couple of rounds. If you want to come hang out, start there. Yeah, I don't know if you want to just hop in a truck with some dude and head out in the bush without getting to know him first. But anyways, so that's all the input we got from the forums and through Instagram.
I found a couple other articles since the last podcast.
Cool.
But there's a couple tips that I picked out of those. One of them basically regarding your navigation skills. Most of us try to find landmarks as we're walking, but a lot of us don't look back as we're going and making sure we're aware of the landmarks behind us, because things can change in a hurry and you're all of a sudden backtracking and you don't recognize anything from the opposite side.
Yeah.
And you should also imagine what that stuff looks like with a foot of snow under it, or with a foot of snow on top of it. So I thought that was an awesome point.
Really,
that could save your life.
It could save your life for sure. I was watching an episode of Survivor Man with Les Stroud, and he said the exact same thing. And I think I could be off on this one, but I think he was in a rainforest somewhere, which is really dense. So in that situation, you don't even have a lot as far as landmarks and things to reference your location off of. So what he was doing is he had a machete in the back of each tree that he passed. He was kind of putting hacking at it as an indicator, so that when he came back on the trail, he would be able to see those, which is also sort of a good, if you're in a new area and you're on a trail that you're not too comfortable with, you might as well do that. Or you and I both carry flagging tape. We haven't really had to use it for any reason yet, again, because the area that we're in over here is pretty easy to navigate. However, after you and I finished the core and PAL courses to get our licenses, we were out scouting with Oscar, my dog, and we ended up hiking up pretty high, and this dense fog rolled in. Luckily, I felt pretty confident as far as direction go, but there was times, no joke, you couldn't really see 5 feet in front of you, and becomes kind of a scary feeling when you can't see shit. So luckily, I don't know, I think we were able to feel it out and get out no problem. And even if we did get thrown off course, there's lots of ways for us to find our way back. But if you're in a new area and fog rolls in, you're fucked basically. So if you don't think you can get back, you're probably best to stay put, and hopefully you've got enough supplies with you to keep you fed and warm for a while until it lifts. Because that was a pretty big eye-opener for me, going out there and having that happen. Was
something like that happens, you can get lost in a square mile, never mind a provincial park or something.
For sure. just end up going around in circles.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the
Yeah.
document that you got there?
I'm not sure how to pronounce this. It's Kifaru. I think it's a pretty well-known hunting brand out of Colorado, but if you go to their site, they have a essays section.
Cool.
And there's, I don't know, 20, 30 different essays there. I think a lot of them are from the company themselves, but a lot of them are from, I guess, articles or essays that they liked, they posted. But yeah, the one I'm looking at in particular is called Getting Further Back, 11 Steps to Improving Your Hunting Success. And it's mostly based on leaving the trailhead and hiking, backpack hunting, camping, putting yourself kind of where the animals are, and potentially giving yourself a chance to shoot something right outside the tent, really.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of good tips in there. I'd recommend reading that.
Cool. I think that's a strategy we're going to try for this year, is to get closer to where we need to be so that when we wake up, we're pretty much hunting.
Yeah.
So,
And that was one of the tips he said in there is when you open your tent, don't be afraid to walk outside the tent with your rifle, assuming that something's going to be standing there.
Yeah, you never know.
Because it's happened.
It's always when you least expect to see shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
That's pretty much all I got too. This is usually you and I kind of go off for quite a while.
Yeah, I could.
We could keep going, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's exciting that we're going into April 1st here. I don't know what it's like from province to province or states in the U.S., but one thing I'm looking forward to is applying for limited entry draws. So we've got a new system rolling into BC here that's going to be online, and we should have been able to start putting in our picks already, but it sounds like
Or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But it sounds like we're gonna have to wait. They're still working out the bugs and that shit.
It sounds like there's a month delay.
Yeah, which I don't know. I guess you can't bust their balls too hard, but it always seems like that's the case with these things. And they were pretty late in announcing if you're successful last year, and it's tricky when you got a plan. If you do get a draw, then you have to think ahead about taking time off work and getting all that stuff together. So hopefully this new system speeds things up, but I'm not that optimistic, and I think we'll just plan to do trips regardless, and if we do draw something, then sweet, we'll maybe change our plans a little bit, but we're definitely gonna, or actually you and I haven't really talked about what we're gonna put in for, but I would like to go for a group hunt for moose again in the Caribou region.
Yep, that's a definite.
Yeah. Probably put in for a doe, definitely. I don't know.
Cow elk.
Cow elk. I don't know where, though. That's the thing with elk. I don't really know where we should be focusing our efforts.
Well, I've got a picture of 15 of them on my trail cam.
That's true. Yeah, I guess they're up there.
Yeah. I actually walked outside my house last week. I don't know if I told you this, but I was headed to work. It was 7:00, like right on the nose. And I heard a couple of elk bugles back to back.
Wow.
And I drove around the neighborhood a couple times before I went to work, and I didn't see anything. There's orchards and stuff up there. The thing that's confusing to me is I don't know if elk bugle all year round or if it's more of a rut thing. So I've heard both. Maybe somebody can send us a line on that one.
Yeah.
Maybe it was some guy that just bought an elk call and he was testing it out in town, but why do that at 7 a.m?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems like a time when they would be calling. So, yeah, that's cool. I actually saw some. I think I sent you a photo. I was on the Sunshine Coast for a little vacation and ran into some elk in there. So it's just getting me excited when you see them. You're like, fuck, I want to get an elk this year. Because that's, for anyone who hasn't had elk meat, goddamn, it's delicious.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the best meat I've ever had has been elk meat. And I think a close second would be moose meat. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully we're successful in that area this year.
Mm-hmm.
As we said before, deer, especially a doe, between you and I, doesn't last too long. So
Mm-hmm.
we got to fill her up this year.
I think I'm going to apply for mountain goat close to our area because it is very close to where we live, and the chances aren't high. I think they only give away a couple of them a year, but why not?
Yeah, I think I'll do that too. We might as well. It's fun, man.
Mm-hmm.
If we get one, cool. If we don't, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact of if you got one, just to be drawn would be cool, even if you're not successful.
Yeah, because it's all about putting yourself in those situations.
Yeah.
Going to the those areas, and the terrain that they live in is obviously pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a good idea of where that would be. So
We've got a spotting scope now, so
yeah,
that'll help.
So yeah, I'd be looking forward to that for sure. No, I think that covers everything for the week.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
on. Our email address for anybody who wants to contact us is the rookiehunterpodcast@gmail.com. Again, really appreciate people listening. Don't be shy to contact us with any questions or, like I've said 100 times, Kelly and I aren't experts, but we're more than happy to look into a topic and research it, especially if it benefits us in a way too. So if somebody wants us to answer a question about something in particular, then I'll gladly, start looking into it and reading and report back with whatever we find.
Mm-hmm.
So don't be shy. But yeah, otherwise I really appreciate people tuning into this thing, and I hope they're enjoying it. So yeah, thanks. And anything you want to add, Kel?
I think you hit it.
Cool. Happy hunting.
Cheers.
Cheers.